You're now tuning in to the Ambitious Views podcast, where we share unique perspectives on storytelling within film and television from the past, present, and future. We're here for a good time, not a long time, so let's get to it. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Ambitious Views podcast, and we are your great hosts, Corrigan and
Blaze.
What's up, Blaze?
What's up? How are you? How's your day? How's your week?
Pretty good. I don't know why I felt a little rusty jumping into the intro, but pretty good. It's been pretty busy. Got a lot of events, got conferences and grading and all that jazz. But
Grading.
You said what?
I said, ooh, grading. Don't miss that.
Yeah. You should. I should get you on board so you can check it out.
You can count me out. That is something I do not miss about being a teacher. Now, I would do it in higher ed because the way classes are set up is different than secondary ed, but the traditional secondary ed way, no. Having 100+ kids, being an English teacher, grading essays, no.
Yeah. I mean, my students do essays, but it's not rocket science to be able to take care of it, so.
Yeah.
But how you doing, sister?
I'm pretty good. I mean, we are moving to a new system at work, and so trying to adjust that. We got like 1 million trainings every week, trying to, learn it. But I think it's going to be a good system. I think it's going to be student friendly. Once students understand how to use it, once staff understands how to use it. So, but it's been good.
Okay. Is this Workday?
Yep.
So it's Workday student?
Workday student.
I know they've been talking about it for our campus, but I don't know.
Oh, y'all are next year.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think it's this fully upcoming year, or they going to test it. I don't know. I haven't been told.
It's next year for y'all. For cohort 1, they're doing community colleges, and then y'all are in cohort 2. So y'all will be rolling it out next year. Basically, we're the guinea pigs.
Yeah, we need that, because it's the first experience with Workday and all the transitions and processes. It was definitely really crazy. So, yeah.
I think by the time y'all get to it, they're probably going to knock out all those kinks, and it's going to be smooth sailing. It's just going to be about training people on how to use it effectively.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, y'all, we got a good one for this episode. We're going to be jumping into the very well-known drama, crazy love story, blindness, aka Love is Blind.
Blurriness.
All the aboveness. Are you sureness? Did you hear that correctly-ness? All that good jazz. We're going to be jumping into Love is Blind. The first, I believe, 6 episodes. We wasn't able to jump on the next slate that was recently added on. So that'll be with the next episode. So we're going to be popping out episodes, like just following the stories of the series / the couples and just seeing how things play out, So, but of course, before we get into that, we got to jump into the this or that. And so we're going to see what Sister Blaze got coming my way, even though I feel like it's going to be butter. I feel like it's going to be easy, but we going to see.
We'll see. Well, since I finally finished Attack on Titan, that opened up some room for me to watch other things. So I watched one of the new movies that's been out, The Book of Clarence. And that has Lakeith in it. It has I can't think of his name, but he's in like Crap-ish. He was in Power Rangers.
Yeah.
You know the guy I'm talking about. But yeah, that movie was really good. They
Oh, you
basically,
jumped into your watch list. What about the this or that? You ain't ready?
oh, my bad. I was ready.
Barely. No, just messing with you.
So this or that. Yeah, because I was supposed to create one. Not just playing, I got one. So for my this or that, since we are focusing on Love is Blind, my this or that's focused on that. So Corrigan, if you could have a Love is Blind second chance season, or would you rather see some Love is Blind, some past Love is Blind contestants on the show like The Circle?
So basically, would I like to see like a second chance version of Love is Blind or The Circle?
Hmm. Or would you rather see some Love is Blind people be contestants on The Circle?
Definitely on The Circle.
Okay.
Definitely on The Circle. I feel that those personalities, I was telling a coworker of mine, like, because she just got into it. I finally talked into it because she was more so in the traditional, um, or just kind of like longer running, like um reality TV shows and stuff like that, like The Bachelor and all the stuff like that. And so I kept on telling her, I said, you should check out some of the Netflix ones. They really good and everything like that. So she started off on Love is Wild not too long ago. She knocked it out in like 2 days, season
Dang.
5. Yeah. She don't play no games. And then she just started on The Circle as well. And I kept on telling her, I said, and she's going backwards. So she started season 6. So she's on season 6 right now with Love is Blind.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you can do that.
Yeah, she finished Love is Blind 5. So she going backwards. And I told her, I said, prepare yourself for season 2. Season 2 is
I
on.
like season two. It's the messy season, but I like it.
I mean,
I think it's my favorite season.
it's a lot. It is a lot. And
It
so,
gives me everything I want out of a reality show. Like everything I want out of a reality show and still be authentic.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, so with that being said, just the personalities of just season 2 alone, if they put them in in The Circle, oh, I am tuned in. And honestly, and I almost wonder, is that why we're waiting so long? Are they trying to get crafty with the people that they put in it? Why not be like MTV and all these other places where you give contestants that's been in different things another chance? Like Perfect Match is like, yeah, it was cool or whatever, but it's like they don't win anything. It's just they click up, and it kind of reminds you of Love Island. And then
Mhm.
besides that, it's like they don't win anything. And then I don't think none of the couples lasted. I don't
They
think.
no, they didn't. All
Yeah,
of them broke up.
yeah.
But that's why I said like a second chance Love is Blind instead of another perfect match. Because I think a second chance, like they wouldn't have to go back into the pods. They already I mean if they mix up the seasons, technically they could, you
Mhm.
know. But I think it would be cool to watch like a second chance, especially those people who went there really, really looking for love. That would be nice to see, like, okay, maybe their person wasn't in their season, but could their person be in a different season? And that changes the dynamics too, because Love is Blind is usually about doing it in the same city. Well, if you get it matched with somebody that's from a different city, that adds a different element. Long distance. Can y'all make it last? If y'all stay together, where are you gonna move to this person's city or this person's city?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think, and you hit the nail on the head. I think the most challenging thing is that even though it's a really great concept, can you get those individuals to buy into that process and, excuse me, being away for that long
Yeah,
and stuff like that. So, I would definitely love to tune in, especially if it's one of those things. Maybe they're not. Maybe it's a second chance, but maybe they don't get engaged. But more so, they couple up
yeah,
and basically, they, because I could see it where they Love is Blind, you couple up. and then maybe they're in the house, kind of like perfect match. And then you got, so then it's still, you playing Love is Blind, but it's not as serious. And then you just see that you even last long enough to see if you would like to move forward, to being engaged or something like that. Maybe, I don't know.
Amazon has this show called Twin Love where like they split twins up into two separate houses just to see like one so twins don't rely so heavily on their other twin or give up their love life for their other twin, but also to see like do people naturally like naturally go to somebody like if I have a twin with my twin end up dating somebody else's twin. They wanted to see like that kind of thing. But that may be something they could do with the second chance experience when you said like just put them all in a house together and let them couple up. And after a couple of days, if you ain't got coupled up, bye.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely and stuff. So yeah, so I think it'll be pretty cool. Yeah, because it could be one of those things like, say they did the Love is Blind thing, they coupled up, they just coupled up, and then they was placed in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And placed in the house is their second level, and then there may be moments kind of similar, almost to perfect match, to where it's like, do you stay coupled up, or do people vote? Kind of like, are you the one you vote out your weakest couples, or who you feel like is not the most believable?
Compatible. Yeah.
Yeah, compatible, believable. Yeah,
And since you mentioned Are You the One, they could even flip it if they went with like the Are You the One type of concept where they trying to find out who their perfect match is. Well, instead of trying to figure it out, they can say, based off of this compatibility test, you guys are a couple, and then like have those people couple up and like each week they kind of choose, do I want to remain in this couple and, figure out if we actually work? Or do I want to explore my options with other people in the house? I think that would be really cool. And if anybody takes this idea,
Blaze is coming.
right.
Yeah,
Watch. We're going to, a trailer going to drop out and be like,
I
Corrigan.
told I told you it's gonna happen. It's so funny. It's so funny how you this and that turned into a whole dialogue, and we created like two or three versions of the show. So
Right. Netflix hire us.
right, quick, fast. All right. So back to your watch list.
So I'm back to my watch list because I got ahead of myself. Watched the Book of Clarence. It was a pretty good movie. It was funny. I like how they kind of incorporated the traditional story of Jesus and then kind of just threw this extra character in there with Clarence. It was neat how they did it. I don't really want to say too much about it because, like I said, they do kind of follow the traditional story of Jesus. And so saying too much about it is kind of going to give away a lot of the additional plot.
Gotcha.
Watch Love is Blind, obviously, because we're talking about it. And then I also just finished Mr. and Miss Smith on Amazon Prime, and it was really good. I was a little skeptical about it. I was like, I don't know, because the movie is okay. Um, but I when I first saw the trailer for the show, I was like, I like Donald Glover, so I would watch it for Donald Glover, and I was really happy I watched it. It's really good. It's funny. The writing is good, and Donald Glover is a great writer. And the rest of his team that he usually works with, they're great. But the acting is good. The chemistry between him and the female lead is good. Storyline is good. It's definitely something that you would want to check out. It's only like 8 episodes, 40 minutes per episode. But like once you get started, you're gonna get invested and you're gonna like watch it episode after episode after episode. So
Okay.
I definitely recommend it.
Dope. Yeah, I remember I think I went to the movies to see the original. And so when I saw they was coming out, I was like interested. I didn't expect that. Then on top of that, when I found out, Donald Glover was gonna be in, I was like, okay, even more interesting. And then I realized it was a show. I was like, okay, really, really interesting. And so but when
And I
we
hope it's
found
not a limited series.
oh, okay.
I hope
Oh,
it's not because it ended kind of on a cliffhanger.
Okay.
Mhm.
Cause yeah, cause when we saw the trailer together, we was like, it actually looks pretty dang good. So, um, it's
Yeah.
just from what I remember, which is not too much besides the action parts, but um, it definitely gave some freshness to it to where I was like, oh, okay, this seems a little bit different. So,
I
um,
mean, in this show, it's like it starts off with them basically doing an interview to be a part of the agency. And then they get hired and they get matched together. And so he becomes John, she becomes Jane. And we kind of get to we see their missions, but we also see the development of their relationship together because they're just two people who were said, hey, y'all gonna be married and y'all gonna be spies together. And so we see the development of their relationship.
okay, cool, nice, nice. It's on my watch list, so I'm definitely gonna check that out on Amazon Prime. As far as mine, I finished the Sidney Poitier documentary. Highly recommend it. It is on Apple. Just seeing his journey, I love how they talked a lot about his connection to other actors at the time, especially black actors, like Harry Belafonte. I did not know they were really good friends. So that really just made it enjoyable just to see their dynamic. And now I'm ready to see Mr. Belafonte's documentary, whoever is, I'm pretty sure, working on that. So definitely ready to check that out. I started the Thriller 40th year documentary, which you can have access through to it through, I believe, Paramount. But I think it's like via Showtime or something like that. So I started that. Pretty interested so far. The approach to it is not what I expected. It's definitely kind of like linear way of trying to, kind of get you through the story. But for me to only have 20 minutes and how far they got, I'm very interested to see what are some cool gems that they're going to include in the doc. So definitely recommend that if you enjoy music and if you really appreciate all of the talent. I mean the great entertainment and music that Michael Jackson was a part of and produced and was and sung, you know what I'm saying? And of course, if you are super ready to see the Michael Jackson film that they are currently
Right.
producing now. So,
The
um,
pictures that they keep dropping, make it gets you more and more excited.
yeah, yeah, most definitely. So I will say like I was very curious, and I don't know if I said this originally, but I was very curious to see how far they was going to go and what stories they were going to tell.
Mhm.
And it seems like they are hitting every single piece, or at least the peak, all the way up until maybe the early '90s. Seem like.
Either way,
Uh,
though, it's gonna be a long movie.
yeah, I mean, you have to because the fact that it seems like they have like this one shot right now that they have a still of him, and it seems like this is around the time when the Bad album came out. Like that's a very long time, and you going
Hmm.
from kid all the way up to that,
Hmm.
very interesting. So the flow of things is going to be the most interesting about it. But at the end of the day, I mean, if you're going to make a long biopic about anybody and
Michael
hoping
Jackson is the person.
he's the person to do it because people are going to be fully invested to see and just to experience Michael Jackson, honestly. So
And
uh,
I just love the fact that like one of his family members gets to be him. Like that to me is so cool.
yeah, yeah,
Like it reminds me of Straight Outta Compton with Ice Cube's
true.
son, being able to portray him.
And he did a
Or
great job.
even he did an amazing job, or even BMF, um Michi, like
Mhm.
he playing his father. Like that's pretty cool.
Okay, cool. See, I didn't know that. So yeah, I really didn't know that. That's really dope. So yeah, can you hear that?
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay. It was people outside. So, but anyway, but yeah, so I haven't really gotten deep into too much. One thing I will say I didn't include on here. We did start the second season of What If. It's pretty good so far. I will say I don't know if it's just because I know what they expect this time or I was wondering where it's gonna go. Um, But I'm interested to see, how it keeps on going. The energy level or the way they tell some of the stories is a tad bit different. And I don't know if it's just because of the characters that they're following this time. It's a little bit different than the last season or whatever, but it just seems the vibe of it and the direction that it goes is just a little different. So I'm interested to see how it's going to end. Now we moving on to the main nitty gritty, which is Love is Blind season 6, y'all. We've been in the trenches for a while with it, and now we're getting ready to talk a little bit more about just first 6 seasons, first
First
six
6 seasons. I would say,
episodes.
wow, we're gonna be here for a while.
Right, we're gonna be here for a while. Buckle up,
This is a 24-hour episode. Let's go.
Right. So, but anyway, Blaze, I'm gonna let you kind of jump into it, like, as far as how, because you kind of like the guru in this one. So it's like, especially when it comes to the pods,
No,
you
you're gonna
got
let me drive? Okay, let's go.
yeah. So take it away. Like, I want you to just jump in when it comes to like your thoughts on how it's starting off, the comparison to other episodes, or mainly like the pod experience, which is seemingly almost slightly change almost each year, not style wise, but just how much we get and what we get out of it.
hmm Yeah, so Love is Blind, season 6. This season we are in, I think, North Carolina, I want to say.
Yes.
We're in
Yes.
North Carolina. In the first 6 episodes, are not the first 6 episodes, but like this is probably the season where we've been in the pods the longest. We
I
were in the
thought it was
pod
just
for
me. I'm glad you said
no,
that. It's me.
because I felt that way about last season as well. But in this season, they were in the pods for 5 episodes. Last season they were in the pods, I believe, I think for 5 episodes as well, or
Okay.
maybe it was like half of the episode on 5. They were in the pods, but this season, pretty much all of episode 5, they were in the pods. It's probably maybe like the last 10 minutes where they went on their vacation.
True.
Um, but you know, same old with Love is Blind. You get all these people, they go into the pods, they start talking to people, asking questions, trying to get to know each other. The first standout person for me was Matthew because he
Oh,
came into the room and was like, "Hey, I got a list of questions, pick a number." So what did you think about Matthew and his list of questions?
a little bit. Like this man was like, I was trying to figure him out because I was like, okay, like is he just really trying to take this process like very seriously or whatever like that? Which I can really respect. If
Yeah.
he's really just trying to take it seriously. But then I realized it went from that to like basically like he was making it more about him and making it almost like a which one I'm gonna pick vibe more than like
Mhm.
trying to be engaging. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah. Yeah, I
um
thought it was funny at one point when he asked somebody one of the questions and then they were like, "Well, what about you?" And he was like, "Whoa, wait a minute. I just thought I was gonna do the asking. I didn't plan on answering any of the questions." And I'm like, dude, come on now. You got to do a little give and take here. Um,
yeah. Yeah.
but there was one point where he was talking to, I think it was Sarah Ann, and they showed him get up and walk away while she was still talking. Well, he
Oh,
apparently left a comment on like Instagram or something. It was like it was just edited that way. He didn't actually walk out when she was talking. So I always want to remind people when we're talking about reality shows is we're only seeing a little bit of the things that really happen. We're seeing things out of order because they're in the pods for about 10 days. And so we may see something in episode 3 from day 1, for example. And
mhm.
so they can put these scenes, all their film together the way they want to tell the story that they want. So want to make sure I remind people of that. And then also, these are real people, but because they're doing reality shows, they are essentially being used by like the producers as certain characters. So when you talk about these people, maybe you just refer to them as characters, in a way.
Yeah. Especially for those that's like, it's like, man, this person is just off the chain or whatever. Like, like speaking as a filmmaker, there is a way for you to edit things to where you can build up some type of narrative that's, in favor of like what you want viewers to get from it. But on the flip side of that, some of these things do be true. I will say that
Yeah.
energy wise and
Yeah.
everything like that. So, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
just
Definitely
like Lay
sometimes they're
says.
holding a mirror to people.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely. So yeah, but anyway, keep going. I'm sorry.
I know you're good. I will say, like, coming from the last season, I was more invested in the pot. And just the overall cast of characters. I was like, okay, we got some interesting people here and there. Um, I even wrote down like a funny quote that somebody, well, AD said. She was like, if I see a red flag, I'll just paint my nails red to match. And I was like, no, 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 girl, we
Oh
can't do
my
that.
gosh. I don't remember that part.
We
That's
can't do
wild.
that.
That's
That was a
wild.
really funny line. But like also the dynamic of a lot of people was funny. The conversations they were having were funny. I remember at one point Jessica was like going crazy about Jimmy blowing his nose. And she was just like, no, that's disgusting. Like, let this man blow his nose.
Yeah.
Um, and then another thing that stood out was Jimmy with Jimmy was like the info dope moment. You know, he went and he talked to Jessica, and
Mhm.
Jessica was like, I got a kid. And then he, had to process that, talk to her with that. Then he went to Chelsea and she was like, I was married before. And you just see it on his face, like, oh my gosh, this is too much information, information overload for me.
Yeah.
But I wanted to talk about like that sequence of a scene like, how did you feel about his reaction? How do you feel about how Jessica handled, telling him about her kid? Chelsea telling him about being married. Like, just let's talk about that scene for a
You
minute.
know, I would say based especially seeing so many seasons or seeing every single season, I will say kudos to them for getting it out there and not I mean, on the mother side, you can't really hide it, at all. So, it's but still kudos to her because it wasn't like just a, an ideal, society norm way of how it happened. It happened at a
Yeah,
very young age, and stuff like that. But seemingly she's doing well for herself and for her daughter and everything like that. I believe she has a daughter. And
yeah,
so um, and for Chelsea, kudos for her for kind of, go ahead and getting that out there. I think we had one or two people who were shared that they were engaged or they were married, I believe, in the last season, I believe, So I mean, I do think it is important to get that out there, to have that conversation and not, kind of hold that in the bag for a benefit for yourself because, no matter how much you've gotten over and everything like that, that's going to still be brand new to them. And it's also important for the simple fact that, like, y'all are all in the same town. Most likely, you're going to probably run across this person.
hmm
And so, even though most of the time it's filmed in major cities, so yeah, so I'd say kudos to them for being open and everything like that. I do feel like Jessica did a really great job with just breaking down her like not only saying I'm just a mother, but just breaking down what type of mother I am, how does this work, how do I want this to work, but also, I want a life as well as, me as a person, along with being currently already a mother as well. And so I feel like both of them presented their things well. I may be wrong, but I don't remember as much details in why it didn't work with Chelsea's last marriage. I don't know if she gave much detail on that or not. I
I
may have
think
missed.
she said they grew apart.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think she said it was anything like drastic or anything. They just kind of grew apart.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. So, I feel like they did pretty good, but I feel like with him, which I mean I can understand that you don't know these people, so it's just like and you don't know at what point this was presented and them getting to know each other. But
Yeah,
I feel like he did better with Chelsea than he did with Jessica.
Hmm.
I feel like he allowed it to shut him down mentally.
Yeah.
He had a hard time kind of overcoming that. And I can only imagine. I mean, you don't, especially if you don't have a child yourself and you didn't prepare your mindset to think like, hey, once somebody that I'm really interested in this, this experience might actually already have a child. And am I cool with that happening? You know what I'm saying? Am I cool to allow myself to fall in love with someone that I haven't had a longer time to get to know, to also get engaged and basically become a stepfather within a month. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So I do feel like it kind of he had a hard time shaking that, but it was the thing that really threw me off about is that his explaining his story about how he has a mixed family and
Mhm.
how there wasn't more encouragement or whatever like that, rather than it seemed like that kind of put more pressure on him, or did he start creating a narrative of who he thought was on the other side of the glass. So that's overall my thoughts between that triangle of
Yeah.
situation.
I agree. He did his reaction to Chelsea was good. Cause me personally, I didn't think Chelsea's like if I was Jimmy, I wouldn't have thought her news was that big of a deal. Okay, you've been married before, y'all don't have a kid, so it like you okay, you was married.
Right.
Maybe you can teach me something about something I shouldn't do, should do about marriage, But with Jessica, I understood his reaction because he's filming a reality show right now. And
Mhm.
so if he reacts negatively, then he's gonna get bashed on the internet. Like,
Exactly.
why can't you be with somebody who's a parent? But
Mhm.
if he would have reacted over like he was okay with that when he really wasn't okay with that, then
Mhm.
that's like him killing a part of himself just so he can look good on television. And so for him to just kind of shut down, I think that was the best thing for him to do.
Mhm.
And maybe he could have said like, okay, that's a lot to tell me. Can we can we table that and come back, like let me process that and we could talk about it. Like if he would have maybe done something like that, I think that his reaction would have come over better. But it is
Yeah.
what it is. Like I get where he's coming from because I think at the time of filming he was like 27, and so to be 27, you may possibly get married, but now you are also going to be a stepdad to a 10-year-old. Like that's massive. That's a massive change in your life. And so like if I was in situations, I would have wanted to know that from, the beginning. Like I need you to put that in your introduction to me. Like, and I am a parent. And yeah, and I get why she didn't say anything because she wanted people to get to know her for her first, and
Yeah.
not, throw her daughter in the mix, which I respect. Like protect your child, but also you don't have to provide details of your child. You can just say, and I'm a mother.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I think going back to that, which led to, I think, the issue and why she responded the way she did is that he essentially lied. He essentially, by not saying anything, he passively kind of lied about how he felt about it.
Exactly.
And by for one thing, not kind of asking more, like, because what he could have also like, because it's like, what do you feel like you look for in someone, like in a father, as a father figure, like what, like inquiring about that. He didn't inquire, but then he didn't say much, but then he also used his own family as an example of like his experience with that. And I feel like I
Mhm.
could see that hurting her more because it's just like, dang,
Yeah.
you're talking about that what you potentially would do with me, you've already experienced that
Mhm.
in real life. And I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, like, can really go somewhere. But then
Right.
like now it's like, no, it's not going to happen. I actually plot twist. I did have an issue with it.
Right.
And,
And that's why I said what he should have done was just be like, let's table this discussion and come back after our process it instead of making her like giving her this false sense of security, essentially.
True, true, true. Yeah, I don't know. I do feel like at the end of the day, I do feel like his connection with Chelsea is genuine, but I do feel like it was almost, I have a connection with both.
Hmm.
If I had to choose between what I'm processing and creating in my head right now, instead of just
Hmm.
allowing myself to be real with myself and how I truly feel about everybody, I felt that he wanted to go with the safe move.
No, I agree. I agree. And I think that maybe if he had more time, which, they always say that if I had more time, I think he probably would have ended up choosing Jessica because he would have had actual time to process that news and ask himself, like, okay, can I become a father at this point? Am I ready for that?
Yeah, yeah.
And
And
10 days is not enough to figure that
no, not at all. And I
out.
will say before we move on from it, and that was one of the things is like, because I think this is one of the main topics of the couples right now, is one thing, like there may be some mixed cuts and all this stuff like that, but one thing I do appreciate them when it comes to the pods, most of the time, the type of connections that you see in the pods are always mostly true, what you
Mhm.
see. And I do feel like he had, seemingly he had a very unique and intimate connection with Jessica versus Chelsea. And
Yeah,
but it wasn't in the sense of like sometimes you have the intimate one and mature one, and then you have the playful one. And I don't feel like Chelsea necessarily was playful, but I don't feel like it was as deep to a certain
I
degree.
agree. I don't think they show any good clips of them like really getting deep. Everything for them was very surface level. And I'm sure they got deep, but
Yeah.
the editors chose not to show that, you know,
Mm. Yeah.
for whatever
So
reason.
so that's my two piece in the
On
big.
them, yeah. I will say for a show called Love is Blind, this, this season was like the most we've ever heard people be like, so what do you look like? Or,
Oh,
basically it tried to bring that up in some way, shape, or form, which
Chelsea
previous
did.
cast members have said, like they talk about that. Huh?
I said Chelsea did that too.
You did. She brought it up. Previous cast members have talked about like how they do talk about this in the pods, but they haven't shown it very much on previous seasons. But this season, I mean, you had Clay and AD. Clay telling AD he needs to know what his person looks like. Which I'm like, why
Oh,
would you go on a show called Love Is Blind if you have to know what somebody looks like? And then, like you said, Chelsea bringing up the celebrity lookalike
yeah.
comment. Like, why would you even open up that can of worms, ma'am? This is Love Is Blind. Just like worth
So
the experience. Experience.
I have to say this. I also feel like that comment stuck in his head. And I
Hmm.
also feel that he was like,
That's why he said he picked her. Because he said that after she said that, he was like, "Oh, I gotta marry you." And I'm like, dude, we're not just gonna marry somebody because of looks, especially like, and she also could have been capping. Well, she said, I think she said something like, well, I don't think that people say that about me. Like, she said something of that nature, trying to downplay it. But it's like, girl, you can't say people say you look like Megan Fox and downplay. Like, you just can't downplay that,
he was definitely fishing with that one.
Right. Like if a dude told me he looked like Michael Ealy, I'd be like, okay, I do. What's up?
Yeah, like she definitely fished with that one. And I ain't gonna I'm trying to move on from it because I know we're gonna have more to talk about them probably the next episode. But
Mhm.
for her to say that that's only his mind, and he's like, oh, she's divorced, but she look like Megan Cox. It's Megan Cox, right?
Megan Fox.
Megan Fox, sorry. Megan Fox. And he's thinking about, oh, I could be like Shia LaBeouf off of Transformers, and we just running and saving the world together. And then
Mm-hmm.
it's like this other person I do have a connection with, but then it's just like, I don't know how she looked though. And Jessica was like, hey, he talking this stuff now. You want to move on, but wait till you see me.
Right. You gonna need an EpiPen. Yeah, her final speech when he rejected her, I loved that final speech. I found out she was a Capricorn. I was like, she act like a Capricorn. I get it. I get it.
I see. I see.
hmm
But
But her
yeah.
final speech was pretty perfect. Like and I didn't really take her final speech as so more as just looking at like, oh, when you see me, but also like what the person that I am, my personality wise, you're gonna miss out on this. Like that's how I took her speech.
hmm And I also feel like it was one of those things that it may have been a passive shot uh to Chelsea, I feel.
hmm
Just because not I don't feel like necessarily she was talking about her, but I do feel like, it's kind of like I feel like how Clay, mentioned about like, oh, you have a connection with Matt. It was just more so of like one of those things like you thought like just alone, like you had a connection with me and all this stuff like that. But when you see me and see that like what I look like and all this experience or whatever's gonna connect to also the connection, like you're gonna be like, dang, like what was I doing? You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah. Speaking
um
of Clay's reaction to that, he said that oh, are you serious? Like, dude, I was
he was
rolling.
pissed. He was
He was so
pissed.
mad. He was like, how am I in competition with this guy? And I'm like, don't do him like that. Don't do him like that. But on that note, like, I don't really like when they talk about the other people that they are making connections with. Like, I feel like you should kind of keep that to yourself.
Yeah, I feel like you should, but you know what? I said I feel like the moment that you feel like you picking between the two, you need to pick before you get to you need to do an evaluation to where you're not forced to get to that point. Like,
hmm
I feel like it was something I think it was like Barnett in the first season or wherever like that. He was feeling one person and the his wife now, which I'm sorry, I can't even remember her name at the moment,
I
but
think it's Ember.
it might hey. And she was really cool. And she he kind of just knew that it was between the two. He evaluated. He's like, hey, I'm gonna go along with this one. I think this is the best thing or whatever like that.
Yeah.
And I think that's what messes them up. They allow themselves to get so caught up in between two people
hmm
and they forget. I feel like you almost forget. It's like you trying to stay between the two as long as possible. Like maybe you think you're gonna see their face through the thing. Like this is how I really look like peekaboo. But
hmm
like no, you got to pick off of your connection. And I do feel like you got to play it like a game. Unfortunately, I feel like if you know for
hmm
a fact, and you got to pick for yourself, like which one
That's
is
true.
best for me. Yeah, which connection is going to be the best for me. What has not worked in the past in past relationships, and move on from that. You know what I'm saying? You
hmm
can't be wasting too much time trying to pick and choose, like how much I'm gonna laugh in this one and stuff. So yeah, and I think that's what AD was starting to kind of do too, even though I feel like based off of her experience with Clay at one moment, it almost seemingly, she may have had a connection with somebody else too, but seemingly she was kind of getting pushed to Matt just because it was a different experience for her and she was curious
hmm
to the experience.
Yeah.
Uh, but um, but you got to be real with yourself, man. You got to remember why you're there. So, but anyway.
hmm No, I agree with that. Like they're only there for 10 days, so I can understand wanting to keep talking to somebody for a while. But at some point you have to, like you said, evaluate and be like, okay, I need to go ahead and cut somebody off and put all my eggs into one basket. I just think that they're so scared to do that.
Yeah.
Like if I put all my eggs in one basket and it doesn't work out, then I don't get to continue with this experiment. But the thing is, but I think they should switch their mindset instead and be like, okay, if things didn't work out with this person, like when the pods are over, y'all can still, y'all are welcome to still hit somebody up and try to make it work, you know? So do you want is it about you wanting the experience to follow on the show? Or is it about love, finding true love? And so, like, they just kind of have to get over that fear. And if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, go to that other person. And not in like oh, they're my backup or they're our second choice, but like you made a good, richer decision because you only had a short amount of time. And if they can't understand that, then that's probably not your person anyway.
And I think that was the thing. I think, Jessica kind of, alluded to that, the fact that she felt like she kind of wasted her time on him, had to focus on him so much to where it's at the end of the show and she think it's got to be something. And now she got to start over. So, but
Mhm.
I feel you on that one.
Yeah. Now, Matthew got me with that line. He was talking about some America's watching. They love rooting for an underdog. And I was like, wait a minute, what is he talking about? Is this like, have we been goofed this whole time? Because I was rooting for you, Matthew, but like, are you a cloud chaser? Did you come here looking just for exposure? What's going on? And AD's facial expression was perfect. Like, okay. But like as soon as he said that, I was like, okay, I'm done with Matthew. And to be honest, I kind of wish AD would just been like, okay, I'm done with the experience because I mean, Clay ain't that much better. He said some very questionable things, and I'm like, I think it was Laura who said, somebody was like, oh, they have so much potential. And she said, I'm tired of guys with potential. I want a guy to be potential. And I was like, I love that because we don't love it's blind. Like the goal is to get married in 4 weeks. Out over the potential. You need to be potential. You need to be ready. And I think Clay is in his potential era and he needs to go to like therapy or something to work on a couple things. Like I think he's on the cusp of being a better person, but he got some stuff to work out. Like I appreciate the fact that when he messes up and says something wrong, he can come back, have that reflection to be like, I probably shouldn't have said that. Apologize. But it's like, also, are you apologizing because you on a reality show and you don't want to look bad? Or are you apologizing because you actually did some self reflection and realized, oh, what I said was stupid and I should have said that? So I hate that because I like her. I really like her. I
Yeah.
just don't think she had any good options, unfortunately.
Yeah, I will say I was surprised that she made it to the point of getting with Clay and getting engaged, and maybe she's thinking about her age and hoping that,
True.
you know, her like she given a true chance and not being placed in a situation where she's gonna be watching somebody fix and build up themselves to be ready.
Mm-hmm.
But I think she was 33 when she first started this. So she may be thinking of age and like, and she even mentioned, she was like, at certain moments, this does kind of remind me of what I have dealt with in the past. And so,
Yeah, she's
uh,
very self-aware. Yeah.
yeah, she was very self-aware. I do appreciate her talking about therapy and just her life. Like you found out about a lot of key points about her that kind of makes more sense about, her life choices, what she do and all the stuff like that. And so, I will say overall, I'm truly interested to see how their life plays out. This is definitely one of those couples that I would love to have had a counselor to be on the journey with them, similar to,
Mm-hmm.
Sight. I'm interested to see how that will go. Um, you know what I'm saying? But I don't know. It's like I truly, and of course, it's like we're talking about something in the past because we'll see soon what has happened. But it's like I really want to root for them, but then it's like, will it be best for them to probably be, more so friends that's just supportive of one another?
Yeah.
One of those things like that. Because it's definitely cool to have that significant other that you homeboy, homegirl with or whatever like that, but not so much to where y'all can't lean on each other's strengths to be the best that y'all can be in a more intimate way. So I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. I'm interested to see how their relationship definitely plays out. Theirs, along with gosh, I forgot his name. Him and Chelsea.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, yeah, let's go through the couples. So at the reveals, we got Jimmy and Chelsea, Laura and Jeremy. Is it, yeah, it's Jeremy, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Amy and Johnny, AD and Clay, and then Kenneth and Brittany.
Yeah.
Those are the couples that got engaged. Those are the couples that they do the couple vacation in DR, which I thought was interesting because season 1 through 3, they went to Mexico. Season 4, they did them so wrong. They took them to Malibu. In season 5, they went back to Mexico. And then this season, they went to the DR. Like, interesting.
Yeah. So I mean, out of those, like, which one of those do you just feel the strongest about their connection?
The ones that I think that would actually say yes at the altar would probably be Amy and Johnny. Even though they got engaged like in episode 1 or 2, and so they kind of became an afterthought. But like as soon as I saw them, I was like, yeah, they gonna make it. They in love. I remember when like the couples first all met each other and they were at the party. Amy was sitting down, like the girls were talking about something, and she was like looking around, and she's like, "Where's my man?" She did not care what they was talking about at all. She wanted to be with Johnny.
Yeah.
So I think that they would make it to the altar and they'll say yes and everything. But these other couples, I don't know, like Jimmy and Chelsea. I think Jimmy only picked Chelsea because of the Megan Fox comment. I think she has some insecurities that are really stopping her from progressing because of maybe like his reaction to her since they have since the reveal. I think
Mhm.
she kind of like feels or sense something different about him, and that's kind of making her insecure, and I think that would become a factor in their relationship. um Laura and Jeremy, I just don't really remember that much about them as a couple um to know if they are gonna make it or not. Yeah. I mean, when they were in the pods, I thought that they were a cute couple, but like I think afterwards, I'm like, maybe they were more of a surface level couple. You mentioned earlier that there are some that are gonna go deep, and there's
Mhm.
some that are like playful and stuff. And I feel like they were more on the playful end, and so
True, true.
I could see them not making it.
Yeah.
AD and Clayton, we already talked about them. I think AD is eventually going to be like, okay, I can't deal with just your potential. I'm not trying to build you up. I'm like, there are professionals out there for that. And I think she's healed enough to walk away from him. So I
Mhm.
don't think they would make it. And then Kenneth and Brittany, they
I feel
seem
like
like they could make it,
yeah.
but I don't know. It's something about their connection that just, it's not that it doesn't seem authentic. It does seem authentic. It just doesn't seem like it's, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it.
You feel like they may dance around things.
Yeah.
I think the biggest challenge for them, even though they've addressed a lot of things that I feel like I wonder how this would affect things, that would affect things. Like they've already kind of addressed it in their own ways of how their lives were before coming here, their views on
Mhm.
things. And so I feel that long as the family dynamics are okay, because this is at least his first time being with someone outside of his race.
Yeah, he said that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure about her, but I feel like as long as, because he seems like somebody that's going to stand on how he feels about how he feels, not worry about what other people think. So I think long as the family dynamic of them meshing more so like him getting connected with her family is fine and not too much of a pushback or there's not any surprises. I feel like they will be pretty much locked in. Um, and then going back to Jeremy and Laura, like I don't know about them, to be
Yeah.
quite. I like for her it seems like he's very like he can be kind of anal at times,
Hmm.
but anal in a way of just like not trying to be mean, but like I'm gonna be just straightforward how I feel about things, especially if you
Hmm.
ask and ask more than one time.
Yeah.
But I do feel like it could possibly be challenging between their connection when it comes to him being very anal and it seems like she wants things in a certain way or she's very certain of herself. And I wonder how that's gonna mesh to grow into a union over time. So I'm kind of iffy about that, to be quite honest. And yeah, I would say, what's that, Johnny and Amy and what's that, Kenneth and what's his fiance's
Brittany.
name?
Brittany.
Brittany. I feel like they're the guaranteed. Everybody else, I'm interested to see how it's gonna go and will the real world experience together kind of exposed. And what they're doing do now is bringing them all together after the pods, or well, after their vacation or wherever like that, to be
Yeah, when they
around
finally
people.
get to meet everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm interested to see how that goes, but I know like based off of like the previews for the upcoming episodes, it's definitely going to
It's
get a
about to
little.
get messy. I heard it's getting a little messy, but
Yeah,
I'm with it.
yeah, definitely going to turn up. So I will see how it goes. You know what I'm saying? But other than that,
Oh,
Blaze. Oh, go ahead,
something
go
I
ahead.
forgot to mention. Did you notice that they didn't do it after the altar for season 5?
They did not. I mean, there's only two. It's
Right.
like, what can you do? But I didn't think about that, but I think it would have been interesting to be after the altar, like including everybody to see where everybody is at least, treat it more like a reunion type style.
Mhm. And I
Uh,
mean, maybe they just waiting a little bit longer to do it, perhaps. Well,
you know,
no, because
mm,
now that I think about it, season 4 after the altar was right before season 5
yeah,
dropped. Like
yeah,
season 4 dropped like September 1. And then season 5 season premiere was like the later September part of September. So I don't think they're gonna do it after the altar for season 5, which I'm gonna be honest, I don't need it.
yeah. I think it's one of those things too. I feel like as much as they want it to be passively entertaining, I just don't feel like this group really care for each other that much for that.
No,
I don't feel like
no.
that well. I feel like the Seattle group was the most mature group after the altar when it comes to how they treat one another, moving forward, all this stuff like that. Um, but I feel that, with last year's group is like, um, with what's that? Was it Izzy and even though people apologize and all this stuff like that, but it gave me the vibe of like, yeah, people apologize, yeah, people will move on, but I don't feel like it's one of those things that they, especially being in Houston, being a big city, that they like, okay, I'm gonna see you next time type thing. It didn't give that friendly vibe at all. Um, so yeah, I'm not surprised because I do feel like almost in every one except for this one, there seem to be, a few couples that keep up or people that want to keep up with one another and all this stuff like that. And I don't know about them.
Mm.
So yeah, I didn't realize that. But we'll see.
We'll see.
Oh man, well that concludes this episode of the podcast. Hope y'all enjoy. If it ended up being a little bit too long, we may do a part one, part two, and everything like that, or just put a longer version up on the YouTube channel. So, but overall, always appreciate y'all for y'all support. We are on Twitter, we are on Instagram, we're on Facebook, and here and there things will be posted on TikTok. So please make sure that whatever platform you're on, we would really love for you to just share and let people know about us and stuff like that. And just let us know what you want to hear from us. Okay. We want you to be a part of this family and enjoy, but We definitely don't want to just be going off on the whim. We would love to know what you want us to talk more about or engage with. I will say, as the months come up, we will be jumping back into anime pretty soon because I know Demon Slayer is getting ready to come up, and then we are talking about checking out um Jujutsu Kaisen. So those are some things for us to just consider and stuff like that. But other than that, I'm not gonna hold y'all too much longer. Y'all have a good rest of the noon, day, night, just whatever. Just have a good rest of the time, whatever, whatever time you listen to this. And y'all just have a good one. All right, peace.